Yes.
Yes.
Good morning and welcome to the Sports Debate Podcast. I am your host, B.A., along here with James JTRAIN Martin and, of course, Jack HIRSCH. Hope you gentlemen are doing good this morning. Real quick, in the bouts of playoffs that we're having in the sports world, today is Game 7 of the Spurs versus OKC. It is in OKC. We'll get back to that in just a moment. And of course, the Carolina Hurricanes take out the Miami, the
Colorado Avalanche.
Not the Colorado
Canadians.
I'm sorry, Canadians.
Thank you, Montreal Canadiens. Thank you,
Sorry,
Jack. I had it there on the tip of my tongue; it just would not come out. So they take out the Montreal Canadiens with a 6-1 victory, 4-1. So it is the Carolina Hurricanes versus the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Anybody got any quick reviews to do about Game 7 today?
You talking about NBA playoffs?
Yep, NBA playoffs. Yes.
Yeah, it's come down to the wire. I just thought it would be this good. I will say something short about it. It's been a good series, and I think what will come down to the victory of this game will be experience. And I think it'll go in OKC. It lays in the hands of OKC, but I wouldn't be surprised if Wemby pulls out another 40-20 game. But I just think that's going to be a little bit tough the way they've been playing the whole series after that first game. So we'll see. It would have to be the rest of the guys, Castle and Dylan Harper, to step up and win this one. But I think OKC is going to win this one.
What you got?
Yeah, this could be. I'll just make it quick, because we could tie this in with things later.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the type of game where a legend might be born. If Wemby turns out to be one of the greatest players in NBA history, and maybe ultimately is going to be a consensus greatest player of all time. Don't come in SGA. SGA is not going to be considered on the very short list of greatest players of all time in the NBA. That's never going to happen. He's not even going to he's not even going to be able to get on the bus to be with the Jordans and LeBrons. Get out of here. Don't even. SGA is going to be a Hall of Famer. Don't misunderstand me. There's a big difference between being a Hall of Famer and on the very short list of the greatest of all time. And SGA is not even going to sniff the greatest of all time list. He's not going to pass Kobe Bryant, for example, when all is said and done. Maybe he'll get on the same level, perhaps, but he's not. Okay, but enough with that. But Wemby might. He might actually turn out to be the consensus greatest of all time if he has an injury-free career and does historic things. But it would have to start tonight. And when we talk about Magic Johnson, we talk about that one great game against the Sixers when the Lakers wrapped up the NBA title. This is what it could do for Wemby tonight. If he has a historic game, the way James mentioned, 40-plus points, 20-plus rebounds, and he leads the Spurs to a victory, and then the Spurs go on to beat the Knicks. This is the start of a legend. As long as he's injury-free, it's the start of an absolute legend. But like James is saying, it could fall a little flat, 22 points, 11 rebounds. Decent game, but nothing spectacular. And the Spurs lose. And we say, okay, they're a young team. They're on the way up. It's okay. They met a seasoned OKC team. It was a good year. Their time's going to come. That's what's at stake. The difference between Wemby being in that, starting an absolutely legendary career, or maybe just being a very strong Hall of Famer. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm going to tie into this too, the New York Knicks, as a matter of fact. That is going to go into our debate question. The thing that I think about this Game 7 is you have a lot of superlatives in this game. Is SGA going to be the MVP that he was voted to be in this game, or is he going to be the flopper that people see him as? Wemby is the same way. Is he going to be the human cheat code, or is he going to be Wimpy? And that's basically, and it rests on the two stars really to make the difference in this game. We know OKC has a deep bench, so that might play in contributing to OKC winning the series. Me as a fan, I like to see San Antonio win, but at the same time, OKC can win this too. I mean, I said, me and James discussed this before. The longer the series lasts, the more it's in favor of OKC because they have a bench. So we'll see what happens.
Can I just say one thing? The difference between Wemby and SGA is this. SGA can lead his team to victory tonight. Lead his team to victory. I think SGA is great. Don't misunderstand me what I said before. He can absolutely lead his team to victory. And if OKC wins, it'll probably be because SGA led his team to victory. But the difference is with Wemby, he would carry his team to victory. He could carry them on his back conceivably. SGA is not going to carry OKC on his back. He could get 36 points, his assists, play a great, great game, SGA. But he's not going to be a single-handed force. The guys around them, have to be better. But if Wemby goes off and plays a crazy game, he's the biggest force out there if everyone's at their best.
You're indeed correct. And they will be meeting the New York Knicks, who have swept the Cleveland Cavaliers in their series to get to the to get to the finals. And this leads us to this question for our first debate question. What would be more entertaining, anticipated NBA finals, the Knicks playing the Spurs or the Thunder? Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, it would have to be the San Antonio Spurs without question. Now, I know the Thunder, the defending champions, but I'm going to tell you what the Thunder lack. You might say, well, they got their bench, they got this, they got that. They lack charisma. They lack charisma. You don't see people around the country, the Knicks are playing OKC. Let's see SGA match up with Brunson or whatever. SGA, he's not box office. He's the quietest superstar in sports. You could say that. The quietest superstar in sports. Not his personality. He seems like a very nice guy. He seems like the type of guy you'd want to be friends with. Good man. Good man the way he seems on the surface. But they're not charismatic. OKC. And if they were ever going to be charismatic, the time would be now because they are the defending champions. And they're not like the bad boy Pistons and James's guy Isaiah. That was charisma. That was box office, okay? That was box office. James's guy Isaiah Thomas. And that's what makes the finals. That's what the TV executives wanted.
9 minutes.
The TV executives love the Lakers and the Celtics. They love the bad boy Pistons. They love those type of games. It took off. Now, San Antonio, they play the Knicks. It's Wemby. It's not the Spurs. It's Wemby playing the Knicks. Wemby is the one big star, and he's only going to grow day by day as the series is going along. And the Knicks are Knicks. There's a certain magic that they're New York. I think there's a certain magic the Knicks have nationwide. Like I said, because everyone is seeing the excitement in New York. And when there's excitement going on in New York, the rest of the nation takes heed. And they're starting to like the Knicks players. And people are wondering the way the Knicks have been slaughtering people in the playoffs. And SGA is the big star here. But of all the teams left, he's the big chip, the big box office attraction. And that's what, would be more entertaining, more anticipated. Like, not just, can the Knicks beat San Antonio, but how's SGA? I mean, did I say SGA? I meant Wemby. How is Wemby going to perform? How is Wemby going to perform? And it's all on him game after game. And he's the big attraction. So definitely San Antonio and the Knicks. That's who the TV executives want. That's who the fans would most look forward, to seeing, an NBA Finals game.
Okay. That's the
I
easy
said
pick,
yeah, I
man.
meant Wemby all along.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, excuse me. I mean, yeah.
Yes. That's the easy pick because the obvious, I mean, you got the eighth wonder of the world playing at 7'4" and having a possible triple double with double digit blocks, and so yeah, that's an easy pick. But I'm definitely going with OKC. I think it's going to be a more entertaining matchup. Yes, we can say that that SGA is boring. Boring is fine with me if you're putting up 31.1 points a game and the rest you're able to dish out the ball. And if you can't score, you're making sure your other team's scoring. Tell OKC it's boring. Their fan base, I'm pretty sure they think it's boring too. Nah, I think that OKC matches up well, better against the Knicks. And you got the starting five: Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, and Karl Anthony Towns. Man, that team, and they have a bench as well: Miles McBride, Landry Shamet, Mitchell Robinson, who I might add is probably a better defender. I mean, looks like OKC laid out the game plan on how to slow down, not stop, but slow down Wemby. Is make sure you have somebody like a big body center to slow him down, and so Hartenstein has shown that that's what you can do, and of course you get Holmgren, but then you're going to have Karl Anthony Towns. He's going to pull Wemby out as well and make sure he defends the perimeter because it'll open the door for a lot of other players. And I think, to be honest with you, I think the Knicks would give a better series with San Antonio than they would against the OKC Thunder. I think the OKC Thunder, if the Knicks don't want to meet, they don't want to meet the Thunder. They don't want to see them. I think they would have more experience and the best bench that you can have coming, and that would make it more exciting. And to me, to be honest, the most entertaining series is what we're watching right now. When we saw the first game with Wemby putting up 40+ points, we thought that everybody. I didn't think this, but a lot of people thought that the Spurs were just going to blow out OKC. I knew it was going to be a good series. We're at 7 right now, and so I think this is still the most entertaining of all of the series, even if whoever goes to the finals. And I'm not discrediting the Knicks. I think the Knicks have made a great matchup. I think they've done very well for what they are, and I give credit to Mike Brown. I didn't think he was going to do this well as a head coach, and he got this team together, rallied, and they look primed to have a good series in the finals. But I still think that OKC, even with the most quiet MVP, I still got to give an MVP. And if he wins a championship, Jack, at SGA, he's in a small category of players that have won back-to-back MVPs and back-to-back championships.
And of the three, James, of the three teams left, the worst thing for the NBA would be for OKC to repeat. Normally, it's a good thing if a team repeats, to have a super team. It would be boring.
That wouldn't be boring.
Wait. Comparing it to the Knicks and the Spurs, the Knicks winning the NBA title would be so much better for the NBA and would create so much more of a buzz. It would be off the rails if the Knicks won the NBA title. Or if San Antonio won the title with Wemby, the finals MVP. He would be the finals MVP if San Antonio won it. But that would be huge, huge. They'd have their next mega star. If OKC wins it, we acknowledge, hey, they were a heck of a team. They repeated as NBA champions, but it wouldn't have the same buzz as the Knicks.
I disagree. I disagree with that. Why do I disagree? Because right now OKC is being garnered as the enemy because they flop, because they do this, they do that. A lot of people, you got a lot of people hating on them right now. So it brings more attention to them right now. It's going to make them even more hated. Yes, sir. You're not watching.
So they point out with SGA.
They point out the whole team. They point out the whole team.
No, they don't hate SGA. No one dislikes SGA.
People, you're not reading the clippings then. You're not reading. A lot of people are hating on him right now. Yes. You're not reading. I read this. People do not, they can't stand. You saw the comments, FOKC. I mean, that's like kind of clear across the board. And I'm like, wow, really? People are acting like this? And I'm like, okay, that's what it is. People didn't like Golden State when KG joined the team. I mean, it was the evil empire when it happened. It happens, Jack. But it makes for great basketball when somebody can beat them. But if they win the next season, everybody's really going to hate them. They're really going to hate them. And that's going to make great ratings as well. So I'm all for it. I think
even though it's not the question, because the game is tonight, just a final parting comment for me. Tonight's game means more to OKC than San Antonio, because if OKC doesn't win tonight, I don't see another championship in their future with this group. It's going to be quite a while before they win one again. And they're going to be looked at maybe as underachievers compared to what we thought they might do. We thought they might have a few championships in them, a year or so ago. And one championship, it's nice. Don't get me wrong. It's something to cherish, but it would be underachieving a little. And San Antonio, as long as Wemby stays healthy, they're coming up. They're the team of the future. We all know that.
Fair enough. But at the same time, I don't think you can discount a team that has a bench that's the best bench in NBA as well. I mean, the reserves, that's why they were still number one, even with their second best player.
If OKC doesn't win it this year, it's going to become harder to win it next year. It's going to be
hard to win for any team to repeat. I disagree with.
But they're not going to beat. San Antonio is only going to get better. OKC will not get better. And you're going to point out to the injury to Williams. Well, they could have won if they had Williams. Yeah, I mean, teams are physically compromised, even when players play. I'm not going to say if the Knicks lose in the finals. Well, if Mitch Robinson hadn't fractured his pinky, he would have done a little better. They wouldn't have lost in 7 games if they do lose in 7 games. I'm not going to use that as an excuse.
It is what it is. I respectfully disagree with that. I just think that they're still going to be a dominant team because of how they're built and constructed. And it's just going to be a really good rivalry in the Western Conference between those two teams.
Yeah, I think OKC. I think, Jack, you got to kind of look at current clippings of this, because there's a lot of people out there and that's to be expected, though. If you look at all the teams in the past, people don't like the Lakers, people don't like the Celtics because they win. Just like your Yankees. People don't like the Yankees. Why? Because they win all the time.
And they call them the same thing, right?
Yeah, it's just because when the Red Wings were winning all those games with people didn't like the Red Wings either. And as a fan of that team, you'd be like, why couldn't they like that? Because you're a fan of that team, obviously. Because if your team is winning, like, why couldn't they not like my team? I mean, we're winning. What's wrong with that? But people don't like winners. They like underdogs. So, I mean, to that fact, Jack, I do think you're right about that. I think San Antonio would probably make it a little bit more interesting because they are the underdogs. If they do beat OKC, they would be the underdogs that beat OKC and are playing the Knicks now. And the Knicks will probably have a better series with San Antonio. I don't think they're going to win that series, but at the same time, it'll probably be. I think the Knicks could probably pull out 2 games in that series. I'm not going to even lie.
Well, I'm going to say tonight, just for the record, I'm picking San Antonio, but it's a very shaky pick. OKC has to be favored at home. Absolutely. They have to be a consensus pick. I'm counting on, Wemby and the rest of the team, like DeAndre Fox, to finally show up. But it's got to favor OKC on their home court. So I wouldn't, it's like a toss-up game to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I can also see the way the series has been going, OKC beating San Antonio by 20 points. I wouldn't be shocked if that happened either. I mean, what do we know? When the Pistons played the Cavaliers Game 7 in Detroit, I don't mean to give you a dig, Brian. Who would have foreseen a complete blowout by Cleveland? Anything could happen tonight. That's my point. Anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and OKC does have a great team. I do have to give them their due.
Oh, yeah.
And that. Yeah.
Well, they're champions for a reason. They're current champions for a reason. I mean, if you look at all the last games of these series, like New York Knicks, for a matter of fact, they played Cleveland. Cleveland show up. They played the 76ers in the last game of the series and show up. So it's like the Pistons. I don't understand what happened to the Pistons. That's a mystery that goes along with the Bermuda Triangle because I don't know what happened to them.
What happened that last game? I mean, what happened?
It's like they kidnapped the real Pistons and they put these doppelgangers in there. It's like, hey,
maybe A1 had something to do. They put false bodies in the Pistons.
Maybe the true aliens. Maybe they
Area 51. Yeah.
But I'm just saying it's kind of like these are happening. Well, at least in the Eastern Conference, this is happening where the teams are beating them by, last game of the series, like the team doesn't show up, and it probably tells you the quality of the Eastern Conference teams in general. And this is what kind of makes the Spurs. Yeah, they're doing really good, and they're going to do this, and they're going to do it. And it's bringing up hope for all the New Yorkers, which is fine. And they do have a good team. I'm not going to even say that. Their starting 5 is spectacular. Their bench is better than it was last year. But then again, if they play San Antonio or OKC, their benches are just as complete. So I would say that, New York is the fans, they got something to cheer about. But I don't know what's going to happen. But I don't think the Knicks are going to win against either one of the Western Conference teams, to tell you the truth.
I'm going to tell you what would make it a little fun, guys. Wemby's animated. Whichever team plays the Knicks, SGA can handle the pressure. He doesn't get faced. Wemby would become public enemy number 1 coming to the Garden. They would give it to him good, the whole city. He's an emotional kid. How he would handle that, I don't know. It might actually inspire him. It could backfire on the Knicks, or it could affect him negatively. Who knows?
Oh, he's petty. He's really petty. So he's a kind of a throwback player. He says what's on the top of his head. He doesn't like other players, and so that's for a lot of guys in the media like him a lot. It's kind of vintage Jordan-esque, that type of thing. Like I'm going to find something to be mad about. And I'm going to definitely use it to my advantage, that type of thing. And so I like that about him as well. I just think that I think the biggest thing that would stop Wemby is Wemby, meaning his injuries, like you said, if he's got to stay healthy, because ultimately he's a very dominant player and he's only got room to get better. And that's what's scary in that regard. I think he could put on some weight if he could. I don't know if he can do that. I think that's probably another Achilles heel for him as well that would slow him down. Is that bigger guys knock him around a little bit, and he don't, having to run up, and he don't like to run up and down that court. So there's no run and gun with him. So, but other than that,
he's the most awkward falling guy I ever seen in my entire life. It's like a stick figure. Like he falls down, and it feels like the whole building is going to collapse. He's like a building, and it's going to collapse. It's like, dude, don't get hurt. But it almost looks like every time he falls, he gets hurt. You know what I'm saying? He's just awkward. He's an awkward dude. That's what he is. Okay.
What's that game with the sticks that you throw down on the floor or something like that? It kind of reminds me of that when he falls. I mean, it's like, wow. But that being said, he's like you said, a human cheat code. I can't deny that at all. Mm-hmm. Impressive.
I like the 8th wonder of the world, by the way. That was a good one. I like that. All right, on to our next question. Who would be the Cleveland Browns starting quarterback this season, Deshaun Watson or Shedeur Sanders? I'm going to give this one to James here.
Okay, so we're using that question next. So I would say, I mean, if from a logical standpoint, if you had to go with the amount of money that's being owed, would be to Deshaun Watson. But for me, I'm a betting man, so I'm going to go with the youth movement, and I'm just going to have to take my L with the money that and you've already lost the amount of money that you've already invested into Deshaun Watson. And so why not just lose another $46 million, because it's already guaranteed, and he just didn't show you anything. He averaged 1,100 yards and 7 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, I think, the 3 seasons that he's played. And on top of that, he's about to, in September, the beginning of the season, he's turning 31. And for me, that doesn't get any better with age when you have an Achilles injury, the healing process. And I think on a guy whose game is predicated on throwing the ball as well as running, I just think that the last 3 years that you saw just are indicative. I mean, you can blame Stefanski, you can blame the lack of offensive line play, you can blame a lot of things. I just think that what I saw in a 5th round draft pick in Shedeur Sanders, I thought that he did in the 3 seasons that Deshaun Watson's been there. He's done a little bit better for a rookie that, made some mistakes in his first season, but showed a lot of promise as a future of that team at the quarterback position. And I just really think that Deshaun Watson, pick up stick. Thank you. Yes, I just think that Deshaun Watson is definitely not the future of this team. And so you want to give the opportunity to the future and let him play. Deshaun Watson's last season in Houston was phenomenal. It was 4,800 yards, 70 completion percentage, 33 passing touchdowns and 3 rushing. And he was just, again, MVP candidate, but they went 4-12. Can't really blame everything on him in that regard. Mm-hmm. But I hadn't seen anything close to that since he's been in here. I mean, blame it on, look, if you remember the movie Superman 2, when Superman elected to give away his powers and to be with Lois Lane, yes. So, but he was able to get that back. That's a movie. I don't know if Deshaun Watson can put an S on his chest and put his cape back on and become that same 4,800 yard player that he was in Houston. I just don't think that's going to happen. I just think that the likelihood of that is you give me evidence of who you are now, whether it be a mental block from what's going on off the field, or he's just lost it altogether. I just wouldn't put my eggs in that basket. I would definitely lean more towards, you've already got your receivers that you drafted running backs, you built up your offensive line. Seems like the GM is trying to get ready for a Shedeur Sanders show. And that's what I'm going with. I think he'd be better off as a starter in Cleveland.
Hey, I'm going to ask everyone this. If Deshaun Watson did not have his off-the-field issues, would this even become a question? The answer would be obvious. Deshaun Watson should be the starter, but people look at Deshaun Watson with contempt because of what went on off the field, and they look at him as damaged goods because of that. And they don't want him to be their future quarterback. Let's be honest about it.
Some people do.
If he went to another team, some other teams who might have interest in Deshaun Watson might not actually put him on their team because they would be concerned about what their fan base might be saying. They don't want any type of distraction. Well, what he did, the issues that should be behind him. He I don't want to say paid his dues because that would be maybe an inappropriate words, but he got his punishment. He
I'm
got
sorry,
it.
Jack. I have to interrupt you in this one.
Sure.
Look, it was behind him when he went to Cleveland.
No, it
Other
wasn't
teams
behind
will,
him.
no, for the fans. I'm just saying. My point is, bringing that up is that talent trumps most of these things. And so, if a team felt like
It
this
wasn't
is something
even
that,
like Cleveland before that, James. They didn't
no,
sign him a
no,
good deal after his problems.
no, I think they all knew what was going on. I'm saying, but they knew what was going on. And I thought they had to look into the situation to say, do the benefits outweigh the risk? And that's what they thought. They thought the benefits outweighed the risk, and they gave him guaranteed money. And so my thing is, everybody thought. I mean, not if he played like he played in Houston, nobody would be. I mean, it'd be very few people talking about that situation. That most people are looking at it like, okay, he's damaged goods and he's got the issue. But the issue would be small potatoes if he was playing lights out. If he was playing lights out, nobody would even care. It'd be unfortunately
Yeah,
just the people.
exactly. So if he can recapture a lot of what he had before, this isn't even a debatable question. Obviously, he should be starting ahead of Shedeur Sanders. It's not even close. Deshaun Watson was one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Shedeur Sanders was a third stringer last year. Promote him this year. Let him start the year as the primary backup. That's a promotion in the company. I know you guys have worked in companies. Someone doesn't go from the.
But he's taking a demotion again. He's taking a demotion again.
What do you mean?
He was the starter for the last 7 games.
He started a few games, but he was not the starting quarterback of Cleveland. Someone had to start those games. No one anointed him the starter. No one anointed him the future Cleveland Browns starter. No one at all. The Kevin Stefanski, who didn't even want Shedeur Sanders, had no choice but to play him the last few games, and Shedeur Sanders did so. He didn't do bad. He didn't do good. He gave you the feeling we would like to see more of him before we can come to an evaluation. That's the feeling, but that's not the reason to make him your primary starter if you have someone better.
But his rookie season was better than what Deshaun Watson put out for 3 years for $210 million that they've already given out.
No,
Jack,
but you know the truth of the matter. Towards the end, Deshaun Watson was played just as well as Shedeur Sanders did. Neither was lights out, but Deshaun Watson actually had some good games for Cleveland as well. But
I'm sorry. He has to have elite games for Cleveland for that amount of money. And even the owner came out and said, we made a mistake. He came out and said, we made a mistake.
Obviously, when you're paying, what did they paying him like $230 million?
250, 246 or something guaranteed, yeah.
Okay, and he's injured the whole time, and yet hearing still about the off the field issues, people coming out of the woodwork. Yeah, you feel like it was a terrible signing as it turned out, but that's what happens in sports. Usually the terrible signings are the result of a player getting injured and then he becomes baggage after a while. I mean, Deshaun.
Well, would you agree that it's probably one of the worst in the NFL's history signings?
Because he was hurt a large part. In part,
it doesn't matter why. I'm just saying, would it be one of the worst?
Oh yeah, of course. When you're paying all that money and the guy's not seeing the field, I mean, it's the same thing as Aaron Rodgers' first year with the Jets. He had the Achilles injury. That makes it a terrible signing because they got nothing out of it. But he has a year left on the contract. You're paying him big quarterback money, Deshaun Watson. Let him start the season. Let him be a starter. This is the NFL. Someone commented before, well, the Browns aren't Super Bowl contenders. So why not go with the young guy? Because in the NFL, rebuilding isn't a key word. You can be a Super Bowl contender in 1 year and fall apart in a year. Look at Washington with Jaden Daniels. They came out of nowhere and they won 1 game away from the Super Bowl the year before last. Cleveland made some good draft picks. They can arguably win their division. It wouldn't be, it wouldn't be crazy that they get better as the year went along and went on a run. I mean, this is the NFL. I don't know I like Shedeur Sanders a lot. I said that all along. I thought it was a fiasco. He went to the 5th round. I wish the Jets would have grabbed him a lot earlier and just made him the starter. But you do have Deshaun Watson. You're paying him big money. You're not paying him that type of money to be a backup. See what he could do. If he gets off to a rough start after a few games, you go to Shedeur Sanders and he becomes your starter. Okay, but you start the season with Deshaun Watson. And if Deshaun Watson, this is the bad part about Deshaun Watson. If he's really, really good this year, let's say he gets back to his old self, he's a free agent. But does another team sign him?
Let's just say, hypothetically, agreeing with you that he does start and he had the lights out year, then all the other seasons would have been worth the losses, the injuries, everything else. Because I mean, let's just go with the full hypothetical that they have a lights out year. They get to the playoffs. They go deep run, and Deshaun Watson is the guy that you want. He's showing you that he's the guy that you expected him to be when you brought him in for that amount of money. But that's almost unlikely, Jack. It's just like a hoop dream. As you know, if you remember those kids for the basketball documentary, they're showing them at the level they're trying to get to the NBA. They never got there.
Let me put it a better way, and then Brian could answer, unless you want to rebut. Bottom line is this: if you just want to look at it this way, let's forget the future potential free agency, Shedeur Sanders development, etc. Who beginning the season from game 1 gives you the better chance of winning? Deshaun Watson or Shedeur Sanders as your quarterback? I think it's Deshaun Watson if you want to just simplify it and not talk about rebuilding and talk about the future. Who gives you right now the better chance of winning if you're Cleveland?
I'm going to say not Deshaun Watson. I'm going to say Shedeur Sanders.
Okay, entitled the opinion.
Yes.
I'm gonna look at it in this perspective. It's the year. It's how much time he has left on his contract. If it was 2 years, I probably would start Shedeur Sanders, and because you're already done. He's already and Jack. It just got nothing to do with the perception of him, what he does off the field. Look, Ray Lewis, Ben Roethlisberger, 2 perfect examples of players that excelled even though they had off the field issues, and they were good. Deshaun Watson just did not fulfill the part of a superstar after he got to Cleveland. Cleveland took that chance. They took that chance. They did all that, gave him all that guaranteed money and draft picks for him, thinking that he was going to turn that organization around. Didn't work that way. Regardless of what the fans thought about him and his off-field issues, if you become a superstar, those off-field issues kind of go away to the wayside. You might hear from fans that are fans of the other teams that played them. They might talk stuff about them, but as far as in general, that stuff will die down. But Deshaun Watson didn't do any favors to himself by being injured, and obviously, that's not his fault. Injuries happen, but it's how you rebound after those injuries, and he hasn't done that well at doing that. I think that if he starts this year, this is just to see, and I got you. I think I'm going to get you correct on this one, Jack, because I think you're right. I think they should start Deshaun Watson first because it is his last year. Let him see what he can do. If he falls on his face, definitely start Shedeur.
Yeah, I agree.
And then at that point, we ain't going backwards. Okay, Shedeur is going to be the starter. Bye-bye, Deshaun. And
this is why I disagree with that, because the kid that took over last year didn't have first-team reps, didn't have anything else, but he did the best he could, and it was better than the 3 years that this guy was supposed to play with. And
It wasn't really. He didn't do anything significant, Shedeur Sanders. But
my point is, why am I going to? That's my point. Why would I give another guy that same opportunity that's making all that money and the 5th round draft pick did just as good? I'm just saying. I mean, I would rather go ahead and start with him and just ship Deshaun Watson off somewhere, because it was the bust. This whole thing was the bust.
I'm not saying, I mean, continuously stick with him. I would give I'd start Deshaun Watson to start the season, and after 3 games, if he's playing poorly for the first 3 games, something like week 4, yeah, I'll switch to Shedeur to get the team going, and I'll think, the first 3 games of the season, that's enough. You've been here a while. You have to show. You didn't show me anything. I'm not going to stick with Deshaun Watson till the bitter end. He's got to play well. But I would open up with him as my starting quarterback, unless by some chance during practice, Shedeur Sanders is far better during practice. We don't know what goes on in practice. If that's the case, okay, I'm going to trust the coach. But to the naked eye, what I've seen, how they performed during games in the past and so on, Deshaun Watson has to be my guy.
Yeah, I think the mindset for Cleveland in general is we're going to milk all the money that we got out of Deshaun Watson. We're going to try to get every penny out of him. And if it does not work at a certain point in the season, we're going to turn it over to Shedeur, and that's going to be it. And then, dude, you can either get traded or you can just be gone on free agency. You're going to be a backup, or they could just have another backup there and just totally dismiss Deshaun Watson. It'll get to that point where it'll just drop the whole situation. But in the case, hypothetically, if Deshaun Watson does well, I still think Cleveland's going to get rid of him. I don't care if he does well or not.
He's going to be a free agent, and I don't know what I offer him a contract, because
I wouldn't need. No, that ship has done sailed. Wait.
It's easy to say now, but if Cleveland makes the playoffs and Deshaun Watson plays like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL again, you've got a problem if you're Cleveland.
Yeah, you do. I agree. Yeah, I agree with that, but I just don't think he's going to do what he did in 2020.
Give him 3 games at the beginning of the year, and let's find out. That's
Jack,
my thing.
Jack, his last great year was in 2020. That's 6 years ago.
Shedeur Sanders hasn't had a great game, let alone a great year.
He's 24, and he has had a couple of great games. That's not true.
No,
Yes, he has.
Was a jury still out type quarterback based on his performances with Cleveland.
So everybody's got to come to play, but the game against Oakland was a phenomenal game. And, I know you're going to say Oakland is Oakland, but it is what it is. He played lights out. He had almost 400-plus yards.
The Oakland that got they're not all Las Vegas, who got the first overall pick in the draft.
Yes, absolutely. But everybody still has to come to play. It's a rookie playing that game. Sorry, Jack.
Just start Deshaun Watson, and nothing. Only good things are going to come out of it. If he plays well, that's what you want. If he doesn't play well, you switch to Shedeur Sanders after a few games, and then it's his job, and let's see what he could do going forward.
If I'm Shedeur, I'd be like, get me out of here. Because, first of all, I got picked as a 5th-round draft pick. That's not Cleveland's fault.
No one else wanted him. That's why he went to Cleveland.
It was goofy. It was still goofy. I think there was a little bit of stuff going on there, but that's a whole other story. But with that being said, I didn't start. I was a third. I was a third overall. Player in the depth chart as your quarterback. I end up working my way up, and you're going to push me back down again. I'm like, well, if I'm him, I'm like, okay.
Starting the year at second on the depth chart. Last year he was.
No, last year he was the third. Yeah, he was 4th, and he worked his way up. Is what I'm saying.
Okay.
He got close to it, Rick. He got close to it. Anyway, all right. I think we beat up on Deshaun Watson and Shedeur Sanders enough on this topic. This is a really good one, though. How about this one? Who was a greater player, Wilt Chamberlain or Bill Russell? We're going to go with Jack on this one.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping James would go first because this is one of those questions that you could make a case for either guy. It's based on what you're looking for, what you're looking at. I mean, if we have to just isolate them one-on-one, Wilt was a greater player one-on-one. He was a greater player. Wilt just wasn't a closer. He didn't close series out the way you want great players to do it. And Russell wasn't nearly the individual player that Wilt was, but Russell fit much better into the team concept. And even Wilt Chamberlain said, I don't think the Celtics would have been as good if I were on their team. But when you look at an individual player, I mean, how can you pick Bill Russell over Wilt Chamberlain mano a mano, one-on-one? I mean, Bill Russell wasn't a scorer. When I was a kid, I saw both guys play. So I had the naked eye test in front of me. And then that's how I like to go on things. Bill Russell was a great, great defensive player. I mean, I'll give you an example. He was a much better version of a Dennis Rodman, for example. He would grab the rebounds the way Rodman did, but he, defensively, he would make a difference there. He would make a big difference. Wonderful passer. Okay. He would rebound on the defensive end. Celtics like to run. He would start the fast break, but he wasn't an offensive force. That's the problem. And I don't want to hear, well, Bill could have scored a lot more. No, he couldn't have. He wasn't a shooter. He had a bit of an inside game, but he wasn't a natural scorer. I mean, he wasn't a force on offense. Bill Russell was arguably the greatest defensive player in basketball history, arguably. But Wilt Chamberlain wasn't far behind if that's the case. Chamberlain altered the middle. Teams couldn't drive on him the same way with Chamberlain in the middle there. He would be phenomenal the way he would be blocking shots. I don't need to cue remarks right now in the middle. I'm going to turn it over. If you're going to do that, I mean, I love Rick, but I don't need that in the middle while I'm talking. You guys just start laughing. But that's basically it. I'm going to turn it over to James.
So who are you going with?
Wilt Chamberlain.
Okay. Yeah, you can argue Wilt Chamberlain. I mean, offensively, he's scoring 100 points once in a game. I mean, that's a record. He's averaged 50 and 26 rebounds, 50 points, which is incredible. But when it comes down to it, man, championships matter. Championships really matter, and some people, it depends on who's debating. I see your question. Who was a greater player? To me, you can look at that multiple ways. You can say individually offensive player, which we didn't add in, but or someone totality defensively. It could have been defensive player, and I think being 6'10" and having a wingspan of 7'4" in Bill Russell, he was able to slow Wilt Chamberlain down enough to win championships. They lost one to him when he was with the 76ers. I mean, mind you, yeah, they beat an aging team, but in their prime, man, the Celtics were it. Kuzi, Havlicek, and who else did? Let me see. Tom Sanders, Don Nelson, Sam Jones. These guys were on that team, and they had a great system, and that allowed for a player like he didn't have to score much. He can just show his defensive prowess on the field, on the court, and like you mentioned, arguably the best defensive player ever, and 11 championships in 13 seasons. That's just hard to debate, man. I mean, we could say, yeah, there could have been other players in the team. It is what it is in the system that you work in under Red Auerbach. Fine. I just think that, again, one can argue, and I'm going to argue it. I was on the fence. Honestly, I looked at this is a great question you proposed. and it was just hard. You can easily look at Wilt and say he's the greater player, 7'1", 775 pounds, and just dominant offensively. But he wasn't that great defensively, and like you said, he wasn't a closer.
This is the single most debatable question in NBA history. Not Jordan LeBron. It isn't that big a debate. People debate it a little, but maybe because Jordan and LeBron have different style of games. It's not debated as much. But this was debated back in the day heavily because they're both centers and they both went head to head.
Head to head, absolutely. Yeah. And speaking of head to head, the record 57-37 during the regular season and 7 of 8 during the playoffs go to Bill Russell. So I'm going to give Bill the nod.
Yeah, but if I'm going to make the argument who's better, I could then say, well, John Havlicek, look at all his championships compared to Jerry West. And no one's going to say John Havlicek was a better player than Jerry West. So maybe we're being a little unfair to Wilt that way, but Wilt wasn't a closer. I'll be honest here. Had Wilt won a few more games, we'd be having a different discussion, or wouldn't be even having a discussion on it. But the bottom line is Russell's teams virtually always found a way to overcome Wilt's teams. And
early on, in fairness to Wilt, he's had some poor supporting cast on his team.
Not really. He had the
in his early part of his career, he didn't.
Yeah, guys like he had Hal Greer, Billy Cunningham. He had some outstanding guys. He really did. I mean, you could argue that Russell's guys were maybe a tiny touch better. I know the supporting
Red Auerbach team led a tiny touch better. I just say I'm gonna put it to you like this. This is when teams matter. Okay, it wasn't really focal on a individual. They made it focal on individuals because those guys were dominating in their positions. But if you look at the Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, based on honors and awards, okay, stats aside, they're both in the Hall of Fame. Yes, Russell won 11 championships to Wilt Chamberlain's 2, but I always tell you in that case, it's usually about the team. And he was on a Red Auerbach team that was just a monster at the time. First team All-Stars, NBA All-Stars. Wilt Chamberlain had 7, Bill Russell had 3, and all NBA. 11 for Russell, 10 for Wilt Chamberlain. All defense, which you would think that Bill Russell would dominate. No, Wilt Chamberlain had 2, Russell had 1. MVPs, 5-4. MVPs, finals MVP, 1 for Wilt Chamberlain. All-Stars, Wilt Chamberlain.
Who had 5 MVPs? Who had 5 MVPs?
Bill Russell.
Wait, but listen to this, James. The year that Wilt averaged over 50 points a game, Russell got the MVP. So take the stat how you want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I believe in this time of basketball is more about the team, and the fact that you had Red Auerbach is like one of the best coaches ever in NBA history, and coaching matters, especially in basketball. And you have that kind of a juggernaut in the Boston Celtics at that time. It didn't make a difference if you had Michael Jordan or LeBron on the other side. I just think that because of the structure that they had, they would be willing to be any team right now. So
now, statistically, individually, I will have to give Will some credit here. And of 142 matchups,
we're good. I wasn't mad at you. I was mad actually at Brian and James while I was in the middle of talking, starting to laugh. We're good, Rick. Don't worry.
I got to learn to keep my composure. Forgive me.
I'm not really mad at them. I'm not mad at you guys, Brian and James. We're good too.
Yeah. What I was saying, of the 142 matchups that they had head to head, Wilt averaged 28.7 and 28.7, which is unreal. So almost 29 points a game versus Bill Russell, and 29 rebounds versus Russell. So it's just pretty scary. But again, like you said, the closing factor for me and the championships is what matters. That's just crazy. That many
Yeah, and
championships.
Russell was so much tougher mentally. That's why if someone told me Bill Russell, I could go with it. But because Will would lose in these big spots, the NCAA championship game, triple overtime when he was with Kansas, not his fault. He had to carry the team. When Will Chamberlain, when Willis Reed came limping onto the court, Bill Russell said, I would have destroyed his other leg. I wasn't going to get intimidated. Wilt later said in his book he had the feeling that the Knicks were a team of destiny. Bill Russell would have said they could take that destiny and shove it up their behind because, we're going to break their hearts tonight. But Wilt would overthink. And then Russell's last year, the Lakers are up 2-0 in the series, then 3-2, and then they lose it. I mean, come on, a Russell team wouldn't have done that. Russell was so much tougher mentally than Wilt, but Wilt would just put up these incredible numbers and he'd do certain incredible things. But Wilt also pointed out sometimes circumstances when they were playing the Celtics in the 7th game of a playoffs this year, would go to the finals to play the Lakers. The Sixers were down 6 points with a minute to go. Wilt took the ball and they scored on 3 consecutive possessions, the Sixers, to tie the game. They were down 1 point. I to get them within 1 point, And then Russell takes the ball out of bounds and he throws it away, throws it into the net, the backboard or whatever. It was a terrible blunder by Russell. But on the next play, the famous Havlicek stole the ball, when the Celtics stole it. So had Havlicek not stole the ball and the Sixers would have scored and won the game, Russell would have been the GOAT. But circumstances sometimes, but Russell by far was mentally tougher than Wilt.
Let me ask a question. And I compare the Chamberlain Russell debate as a defensive player versus an offensive player. Okay. Who do you think in today's category a defensive player would measure up to an offensive player? What defensive player would measure up to? And I know I'm picking straws here because there's really not too many defensive stars.
You don't have traditional centers anymore.
Yeah,
just don't.
I'm just talking overall defensive player versus an offensive player.
Well, what do you mean?
Like, okay, well, I'll take it from my era. Like Rodman, who would be his equivalent as an offensive player that you would have a debate?
His equivalent is an offensive player. I thought we were saying it's a defensive play, and I'm having a brain freeze.
One versus the other is what he's saying. Yeah. Now. So let's just say
an offensive player.
Well, who's great defensively now versus a great offensive player now? Who would be a good matchup is what he's asking.
Wait. What's his name at Phoenix? Came from Houston, got traded. Bad.
Oh, you're talking about Dillon Brooks?
Dillon Brooks, yeah, he would maybe be my defensive guy. Constantly dirty plays and going against an offensive guy. Who's he feuding with, Dillon Brooks, right now?
Everybody.
Any team.
Yeah, everybody. Every team he sees, he's in their crowd trying to do against.
He might be the type of guy, defensively, whatever. Certain guys like Marcus Smart are quiet. They're not charismatic, but they get the job done defensively. But Dillon Brooks will take cheap shots kind of the way Rodman would. Yeah, so he would be my guy, but who would be his counterpart? I don't know. The game was different. Wemby, for example, we talked about, he would be a traditional center back in the day. He would be playing under the basket. He wouldn't be taking long-range shots.
Okay, let's just go in their primes. LeBron James versus Draymond Green. To me, I thought that was a really good matchup. I thought it was a really good matchup.
Yeah, you could say so. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just thinking because, like I said, Russell was more of the defensive player, whereas Wilt was more of the scorer, and you're comparing them. And yeah, you're basing the championships off them, but it's kind of odd to. I mean, I know they're both centers, but both of them played a different part in their role on their team, where Russell was more defensive and Chamberlain was more offensive. So, that's why I was just trying to see where you guys stayed at in that particular area. Anyway,
For sure.
it has been a good debate, and we did annoy Jack a little bit, so that always works for our show. Anyway, everybody have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next Saturday on the Sports Debate Podcast. And I said, everybody have a great week. Peace.